What I've learned as the number one reason why companies lose customers has nothing to do with marketing, sales, or fulfillment. After working with thousands of business owners across dozens of different industries, what I figured out is that it has everything to do with the handoff between those different stages. If you get it right, you will have a customer who's incredibly happy, turns into a raving fan, and pays you time and time again. Botch it just one time, and you'll get a customer who asks for their money back and complains to their friends and family about how bad your service is. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a short presentation at my most recent event where I walk through exactly what these different stages are, what the sticking points are, and how you can set up automations and systems like the ones that we've set up in our business to streamline that handoff as much as possible to get happy customers that pay again and again.
What's most important is what I call the handoff. How do they go from marketing to sales? How do they go from sales to client fulfillment? Most people have no systems or people in place in that transition period. And you can actually have everything right. You could have the best marketing, the best sales, and the best fulfillment. But if you drop the ball in between those stages, it's game over. And the example I want to give you guys is, has anybody here ever had a bad restaurant experience? Thank you. So think about it like this. You hear about the hottest new restaurant in town. You get to the restaurant, you have reservations, the host greets you, they're like, so great to see you, Mr. Abuvala. We've been waiting to have you all week. Your table's right over here. And the atmosphere is amazing, the people look beautiful, you're so excited, you sit down, and it takes 10 minutes for your waiter to come greet you. And anybody that knows my story, as I was talking about a little bit earlier, when I dropped out of law school and I was trying to decide what I do, I worked at a fine dining Italian restaurant in Atlanta. It's one of the top restaurants in Atlanta. And the lady, our general manager, she said that the longest period of time for the customer is from when they sit down to when you first talk to them, and then from when they ask for the check until they are able to leave. Anything in between, you can get away with murder. But if I had an amazing experience, then I sit down and no one's talked to me for 10 minutes, there's dozens of examples I can give you. My girlfriend and I just get up and walk out. Because what does that tell you? If the beginning of this relationship is starting off this poorly, what is the rest of this experience going to be like? So most people don't have that handoff nailed. And what I said earlier was that if you can get that onboarding down, you're freaking golden. And if I had to say our client fulfillment journey, it's like 60 to 70% of it is just in the first 7 to 30 days. Because the value somebody places on you becomes less as time increases, right? So 3 months later, they're not going to be as interested in as leveraging you as they were in the first 30, 60, 90 days. That's just the truth of it. That's everybody. You're not going to combat that. But if you can make the first 7 to 30 to 60 days absolutely transformational, or if you can make the first 1 day absolutely transformational, you're golden. So these are a few ways that we have nailed the sales customer experience, right? So, first of all, prospect closes. So this is when someone actually they say, yes, I'd like to work with you guys, here's my credit card. The first thing you have to do is set absolutely clear expectations as for what is going to happen next. Now, the way that you do this is you paint them a high-level understanding of like, hey, so thanks so much for joining us. Over the next 90 days, we're going to set this whole thing up for you. But what I need you right now is do this one thing. So many companies I've worked with, it's been, as soon as I pay them money, it's like, great, here's 50 forms you need to sign. Here's 3 onboarding documents you need to do. You need to show up to these 10 meetings. And it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what is going on right now? And the number one time for someone to regret making a decision to work with you is from when they make that purchase to when they actually start working with you, which seems like, oh, they automatically start working with you. That's not true, right? So our sales team literally says, so you sign this proposal. Is this on the screen? Yep. You sign this proposal. You're going to get a welcome email from our team. The email is going to be linked to your onboarding form. You need to complete that immediately. Everything else triggers from that step, so it's imperative that you do that as soon as we get off this call. Once you complete that form, you'll be redirected to schedule an onboarding call, and you'll get your next instructions on the page after that. Okay, so what are you going to do as soon as you get off this call? Because they get off the call, then their cousin, aunt, uncle, mom, sister, brother complains, says something, they forget what they're doing, then they don't fill out the onboarding form. Then it's 5 days later, they haven't heard from you, and then they call complaining or they email you complaining. Whose fault do you think they're going to blame it on? Mine, yours, right? No one ever thinks it's their own fault. Next thing that we do on the sales side for the customer experience is we do what's known as a deals closed activity. We with me? Yeah? Are I good? Say hell yeah. Say hell yeah. So next thing we do is what's known as a deals closed activity. What this is this signifies to the rest of the team now that this person is now a client of ours. And this triggers a cascade of events. Because another mistake that I see bottlenecked all the time, I did a podcast interview with a guy doing $300,000 a month a few weeks ago, and there was a disconnect between when someone closed and when the rest of the team knew that somebody closed. It was like whenever the salesperson got around to making a post inside the Slack channel, that's when everybody knew that it was happening. It wasn't uniform, it wasn't organized, and he was wondering why he was bottlenecked during this whole process. So instead of you can actually build a form, we actually use one inside of Close.io. Then what happens is it will ask all the questions that the team needs to know, the company needs to know in order to fulfill, and the client success manager needs to know in order to start their welcome call, which we'll talk about here in a moment. I'm creating systems so that it's now easy to get the information from one side of the departments to the other side of the departments. And this is where the beginning of the handoff occurs. If anybody here is a football fan, this is literally when they're passing the ball to the running back, right? It's imperative that we add as much information as possible about their current situation, struggles, what they've tried before, promises and expectations that were made on the call, support expectations, what they need. Because how amazing would it be? Let me give you guys another example. Has anybody here been on hold for like 45 minutes? Then you finally get on a customer service person. Then you explain your whole situation, and then they go, you know what, this is the wrong department. Let me transfer you to somebody else. Then you wait another 45 minutes. Then you get on the phone, and I always go, do you mind explaining to the next person what's going on? So yeah. And then I go, yes. The last lady should have told you. Well, she didn't. I'm like, well, now you're already invested 90 minutes into this, so like now you got to redo everything again. How much more amazing would it have been if when I got on the call, hey, Mr. Abuvala, so sorry that you're experiencing the problem with this. I know that she escalated it to me. I'm already working on these 3 things. I can put you on hold for 10 minutes, I'll have the solution for you, or at least next steps by then. I wouldn't have to say anything to him, right? But once again, 99% of people don't do this. So this is our deals closed activity. I know it's not amazing, so I'll just walk it out to you. Name, phone number, industry, current revenue goals, current struggles, current lead generation, business goals, personal goals, support expectations, guarantees if we offered it, and what's like the biggest thing that they need to get solved, and then cash, revenue, payment plan. And what we can actually do is, you can't see it on here, but support expectations, we actually put a Loom video. So then the salesperson can disseminate this whole relationship that could have been 5 days, 30 days, or a year that they've had back and forth with this person. They can now put in a 3 to 5 minute Loom video that our client success manager can watch before he does what I'm going to show you as the next step. Does that make sense? This wind feels awesome, man. This is a beautiful Miami day. This is awesome. Who's here going to move to Miami that doesn't live in Miami right now, right? Yeah. Make sure you hit me up, guys. I need a real estate referral from it, okay? So this is straight from our docs. So you're required to submit an accurate and in-depth deals closed activity within 3 hours of payment taken and the proposal signed. Failure to do so will result in a $50 deduction in your payout. And then, like I said, we also create a Loom video for the client walking the success coach, and we attach it to the deals closed activity, explaining everything this person needs to know. Next stage. Any questions on that before I move forward? We all on the same page? Yes? Are we good on this information? Helpful? Yes. This is my little secret sauce. It's the welcome call. Like 2 minutes of your life, or your client success manager's life, will have an unbelievable, the ROI on this time is unbelievable. We closed a gentleman into the scaling initiative, and I do the welcome calls whenever we're in the scaling initiative, and he was like shocked that I picked up the phone and dialed them because it was like an hour after he joined. How many other programs or companies you work with do you think he had that experience with, right? Took just a few minutes of my day. So this is the receiving end of the handoff. So the sales team, they did everything that they could to make sure that when they pass this off, that client success manager is set up for success. And by the way, here's a secret to make sure that your team is doing what you want them to do. Make sure they're incentivized correctly. So if your sales team makes a certain amount of cash, no matter what happens with that client, then they're not really incentivized to close the right people in the company or to make sure that they have their support expectations. But our sales team, they're only paid out on the cash that is retained by the company, and they're paid it out as we get it. So if they put someone on a 3-month payment plan, they're incentivized to make sure the client makes all of their payments. And how do we make sure the client makes all their payments? They're actually getting what they came in for. If the client refunds, we take the commission away, we deduct it from the salesperson's payouts. And some people go, that's not fair to the sales team. Well, first of all, life's not fair. Second of all, it incentivizes them correctly. They're not going to take somebody on board who's not a good fit because they don't want to deal with this whole song and dance. And they're more incentivized to leave more accurate, in-depth deals close activities and set expectations correctly. This is now for the client success managers. They are required to make a welcome call within 1 hour of the deals close activity being submitted. I was just thinking, you guys are going to leave from here, and everybody's client success teams are going to be freaking awesome, and it's going to be like, you guys are going to transform this space, or your space. It's going to be amazing. That just was a thought that came to my head. So this is a true statement, and this is actually backed up by data. As soon as someone purchases something, there's literally a dopamine spike. The act of purchasing something, there's a dopamine spike. Doesn't matter what it is. The act of purchasing something, there's a dopamine spike in the brain, as they are excited to have their problem solved. The salesperson has just poked at this pain point for weeks, months, or years, and when they pay that money, unfortunately, in the time that we live in right now, they're expecting the problem to be solved immediately, right? 6-minute abs, 30-second dinners. So they expect it to be solved immediately. Now, if you're doing anything significant, it's going to be very hard for you to get anything done immediately unless you're like a plastic surgeon and you're doing liposuction. But there are little steps that we can do along the way that helps them know that we're going in the right way. Going the right, you guys know what I'm saying. Direction. Thank you, whoever said that. And then ours shows up in the Deals Closed channel. So there's a Deals Closed activity that from Close.io, they submit it. There's a zap that then sends that directly in the Deals Closed channel. And then all the information is right there for our team to read. And then the welcome coach picks up the phone, dials them, and then they put a green check mark on the Deals Closed activity, and that lets us know that they called that person. Make sense? You guys are awesome. The purpose of the welcome call is to begin the relationship with our client success team on a proactive rather than a reactive note, like I talked about earlier. I don't want to wait until someone schedules an onboarding call or until we get on the onboarding call or until someone says, hey, what are the next steps for us to be making a move in the right direction. That is not customer experience, that is customer service. And the craziest thing about it, like I talked about one of our clients in the Scaling Initiative that joined the other day, I was like, Sean, what's going on, man? Ravi Abuvala here. I hope you're doing incredible. Look, I know you're already running an 8-figure advertising agency, and you're working with some of the biggest brands in the space, and I know you guarantee $1 million a month increase in bottom line in 6 months or their money back. I got to tell you, that's probably one of the best offers I've ever heard, and we should have no problem setting this outbound system up that you wanted. I'm going to have our team work on the outbound messaging. By the time we get on the onboarding call, I'm going to give you the outbound messaging that you guys are going to use. And he was like, his words were, dude, you've already done more than the last coaching program I was in for 6 months. Right? And then this is me writing to the team. But I say, bring the Scaling Systems energy on the call, stand up, use your hands, and let them know we're excited to work with them. Even if you're on a voice call. Anybody here that's in sales knows the same thing. If you have your guy that's like, hey, welcome to Scaling with Systems. Yeah, we're excited. They can feel it. But like, just like I was with this guy. Dude, we are so stoked to work with you, man, and we're grateful for this opportunity. They can feel that on the call. There's no sneezing allowed here. The purpose of the welcome call is to not solve all of their problems. That is what the onboarding call and subsequent interactions are for. This is just to get them to the next step, whether that's filling out their onboarding form, answering any questions, getting them inside the Slack channel, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want the welcome call to be 40 minutes. Our client success managers are busy enough as it is. It needs to be 2 to 5 minutes, just a touch point. And clients will love to stay on the phone and talk with you, so you have to know how to respectfully take them off the phone. And we give our client success managers welcome call scripts and welcome call recordings. Before you make the welcome call, make sure to collect as much information so you can speak with them in absolute authority. Some things that you're always looking for on the welcome call: have they submitted the onboarding form, if they've joined the Slack channel, what their industry is, what their offer is, why they started working with us, what their goals are. You can get all of that from the Deals Closed channel. And then this is a recommendation I have every single person do here, not just for FTC regulations, not just for government regulations, but just for overall good hygiene. Record every call your team makes. What are the client success managers like? Oh, yeah, Ravi will hop on 50 one-on-ones with you this month. No problem. Don't worry about it. And then the guy's like, I'm ready for the 50 one-on-ones. And I'm like, I'm not having 50 one-on-ones. I'm like, I was promised this. He said, she said. It's also really great whenever we're building out this SOP that I could just go back to all the welcome calls that I've been doing or the team's been doing, and I can download it and put it in a Google Drive and now give that to our clients or our team members so they can listen to that as well. If there's no answer, leave a voicemail. If there's no voicemail, send them a text message. Next step, any questions on welcome call? Pretty simple? Yes? Good?